his sophomore season, Ty Johnson emerged as an elite running back for Fort Hill High School in Cumberland, Maryland. In his 2 full seasons as the primary rusher, Johnson helped his team amass a perfect 28-0 record, including consecutive state championships. The personal accolades piled up for Johnson as well, as he was recognized twice as the Area Player of the Year, once making the All-State team, and in total claimed 3 state championship rings. In his 2 full seasons, Johnson was responsible for 5,000 all-purpose yards and 65 touchdowns, which got the attention of college scouts. In 2014, at a University of Maryland football camp, Johnson received a scholarship from then head coach of the Terrapins, Randy Edsall. This was the only FBS offer Ty Johnson would receive. In his senior season, he signed his letter of intent and was heading to College Park for Big Ten football as a University of Maryland Terrapin. While at Maryland, Johnson showcased his blazing speed and sneaky strength to eclipse 4,196 all-purpose yards in his 4-year career, which ranks 3rd in program history. In his sophomore season, Johnson boasted his big play capabilities when he set a school record for yards per carry in a season with 9.1. The cherry on top for Ty Johnson's illustrious career were not 1, but 2 kickoff returns against Big Ten powerhouses in Michigan and Ohio State. However, an accomplished 4-year career did not impress NFL scouts enough to award Johnson an invitation to the 2019 NFL Combine. Instead, he participated in the University of Maryland Pro Day, where his speed and strength were displayed in front of 29 NFL teams. Then on April 27, 2019, Ty Johnson's dreams of making it to the NFL came true when he was drafted in the 6th round with the 186th overall pick by the Detroit Lions. He hit the ground running for the Lions, getting significant reps in the preseason, earning Lions preseason Week 1 Player of the Game, and scoring a touchdown off an 11-yard reception from Matthew Stafford in just his 3rd preseason game. Johnson's performances in minicamp and in the preseason earned him a spot on the 53-man roster to start the season for the Lions. He bounced around in the running back depth chart, but was awarded his first start in the Week 10 matchup versus the Chicago Bears. Overall, Johnson rushed for 273 yards off 63 carries and added 109 receiving yards to cap off his rookie campaign. So thank you for joining us on the Inside Voice Sports Show. This is Names to Know with Ty Johnson. Obviously, it's a weird time right now with the coronavirus. How are you doing, man? How's your family doing? Make sure you're staying inside, staying safe.
Appreciate you asking. Everyone's good. I was excited to get back. I was just in Texas for 2 months training, so I got back in not this Saturday, but 2 Saturdays ago to see my family, make sure everybody's straight, make sure they get all their needs and everything, because it's kind of wild when you go to a store, like there's nothing on the shelves, anything. So it's been good to get back, see them, make sure they're straight and got everything they need. And for the most part, man, I got me a weight room set up outside, so that's when I go outside to work out. That's really about it. But other than that, just staying inside, playing with my dog, chilling with the family. That's really about it.
That's good. You get to spend some family time after being away for a while. So I'll go ahead and get started right with it. Getting started with your high school career. You kind of stepped onto the scene really in high school football your sophomore year, but when was it really that you realized that you could do things on the football field that others couldn't do and that you really had a chance to do something big in this sport?
To be honest, I knew I could play ball, when I was a youngin' and everything, when I played for the Pee Wee Saints. It was back when they were green and gold, not black and gold, because I was always scoring. But I feel like at that level, there's always that one kid on every team that scores a lot and is always making plays. And really, it was not until maybe my freshman off season, a week after the Rutgers game. It was our last game of the season. We won that game, went 3-9. We were horrible that year, but Brendan Moore, he was my center and guard at the point at Maryland, and I had a big game that game, to end the season out, and he was just yo, you could really do something, if you really put your mind to it. And that's when I was oh man, I'm about to go at it now. And that's really when I was okay, I could really do something. But always in at Fort Hill and everything, I knew I could play ball, but it was 1A school really, you know what I'm saying? 700 some kids at Fort Hill, and you're seeing the same group of kids every year when you're playing football in such a small area. So it was like, oh, I know I could play ball, but can I play it at another level when at the college level, what's the best kid from every team that's showing up? So really it was right before my off season, my freshman year in college was like, yeah, I could really do something. And then sophomore year I had 1,000 yards and I was like, okay, this thing's panning out really good right now. So that was about when.
And while you were at Fort Hill, explain to me how big the rivalry was against Allegheny, especially for you. And did you experience anything like that in Maryland? Obviously, you're playing in front of more people, but did you ever have that rivalry type atmosphere at Maryland?
I mean, the rivalry with Alco was just crazy. Like, you really don't get that anywhere else with like how many fans show up and like you got the hill in both stands, like both bleachers filled up. I mean, at Maryland, there's always that rivalry with like Ohio State and like Penn State, but it really isn't like a rivalry to them because they always beat us, you know. So it was like, oh man, like it's Penn State week, it's Ohio State week. All right, let's get them. But Michigan week, but it never really panned out the way we wanted it to. But it was always, just that having that like that taste of like, oh, it's a rivalry. It's always gets that adrenaline going when that week shows up, and especially when you're playing in front of 100,000 people at Michigan, or you have 80 some thousand at Wisconsin or anything like that. It's crazy, but nothing will. I don't think anything will ever beat with me being at Fort Hill with that Alco and Fort Hill rivalry with I guess how many fans were there. And that thing is like when it's homecoming week and rivalry week here in Cumberland, like it is because you got little posters around town, little helmets hanging up on the post and everything. So it's crazy. It's weird that you share the same home field. So like every other year you alternate home and away. But at the end of the day, man, like it's just a great culture and it's a great time for rivalry week, homecoming week.
So tell me which was more difficult for you, the jump from high school to college or the jump from college to the NFL?
Um, there's always different aspects you have to get over, like different humps at different levels. For me, it was definitely my freshman, sophomore year, transitioning into college because I came from a wing T offense. I knew nothing else but a wing T offense. And then it was just having to learn a playbook. Like I had Coach Loxley, who's the head coach there right now. He was my offensive coordinator, interim head coach my freshman year. And just having to learn protections and like 5-man protections, 6-man protections, even 7-man protections when there's 2 tight ends in there and whatnot. It was just crazy. It was mind blowing to me because I never knew anything but 29 sweep and blocking down on 28 sweep for Alex Barnes. That's all I ever knew. So that was definitely probably the biggest transition that was hard for me. And then just with the NFL, the transition is just everybody's a pro now. So like you got to be about your business. And I've always been good about being disciplined, taking care of my body, doing what I need to do. But, at the end of the day, you got grown men trying to earn a spot so they can feed their family. So probably going to NFL was just realizing I was about to take another man's food from his plate that's going to help feed his family. That was probably the biggest thing for me mentally because, like, you get to know these guys through OTAs during training camp, and then one by one as the season gets closer, like, these guys are getting cut because, like, I'm doing well or they're just not making it anymore. Like, that was probably the biggest thing for me because I was with guys my during rookie mini camp, and I was with this fullback they brought in to try out. And me and him, like, it was just me and him at rookie minicamp. So, like, I was like, oh, that's my brother. Like, me and him about to make it through. And he was an undrafted free agent. So, like, it's definitely hard for him to make that jump. And he was at a locker beside me. He was like, all right, man, like, they said, I'm good. Like, we're going to see what happens. And next thing I knew, he left. I was at this metal locker on wheels. They brought him a plane ticket with his name on. I was like, man, like, this is real. But yeah.
And you did a lot in your college career, but there were a lot of people, especially people in Cumberland, who thought you weren't getting enough touches in your running back by committee offense. What were your thoughts on sharing so many touches as much as you did, especially in your early years?
I mean, it is what it is. Like, I can't. I mean, I would always want the ball. I feel like every guy who wants to make plays always wants the ball more. But I mean, at the end of the day, I had less miles on my body going into the league compared to guys who, I had a career of 300 and like 25, 27 carries or something. Some guys get that in a season. So I just took with a grain of salt, looked at the silver lining, was like, all right, well, if this guy's getting 350 carries a season, within 3 seasons, he's up to over, 1,000 carries. And, I still got tread on the tires really. And I mean, I get that all the time. A whole bunch of people's like, why don't you get the ball more? Why don't you get the ball more? I was like, hey man, I'm just a player. I don't coach. So I mean, it was rough at times because I know I can make more plays. But at the same time, it's a blessing in disguise because, I didn't really get too banged up or anything like that. So I mean, it's it's hard to like, talk about it in like a way of I should have got the ball more, I shouldn't have got the ball more, really.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. But you were one of only four players in Maryland to surpass over 4,000 all purpose yards in your career. You're alongside names like Torrey Smith and Stephon Diggs, who have both really eaten in the NFL. What does it mean to have your name next to those two names in the conversation of some of the best that's ever played at Maryland?
Man, it's just crazy to think about because, like you said, like they did that at Maryland and now they're in the league. And I mean, I'm pretty sure Torrey Smith he retired just this off season, but just to see that they did that at Maryland and then they made that transition, going into the league, making that happen, it makes me feel like I can do that now, just because like my name's up there with them. And I mean, granted, they have more years under their belt than me, but I just have that feeling that I did that at Maryland, and I can follow in their footsteps and transition into the league. And hopefully this season, just ball out. And it's like, okay, you have guys like Torrey Smith, Stephon Diggs, Ty Johnson, like everyone's gets balling that came from Maryland. So that's just something I've been looking forward to.
And we got to talk about your pro day. This 40-yard dash. Some people had it at 4.3, some people had it at 4.4, but there was one guy that really clocked it at 4.26. Do you think on your best day you have sub 4.3 speed?
I mean, when I was in Florida training at XPE in Fort Lauderdale, I was at like 215, and my 10-yard split was a 146 one day, and I was doing like 1-4, 148, 149, 150, like 10-yard splits. And I was like, oh man, like I got this. And then it was actually crazy because my trainer Matt Gates, he wanted me to get up to 220 because he was like, you're gonna be even more explosive and you'll run even faster. And I was like, nah, 220 a different animal, man. I don't know about that one, but I believe I do. Definitely 4.3 for sure. But the thing is, I trained for that. Like pro days, you're training just for the 40, really. So could I go do it right now? Hell no. Like that's a no go. Um, but if I like had the time to like prep myself again and get my technique down again, I could definitely do it for sure.
And you also put up 225 pounds 27 times, which, if you would have been at the combine, it would have been the most among running backs. How much of your strength today do you attribute to the culture of being in the weight room at Fort Hill?
Man, that's how like the weight room's everything, really. That's why I try telling everybody that they're like, oh, what can I do? I'm like, hey, step in the weight room first, man. Let's do that. That's the first step, get in the weight room. And it's just so much like you got guys who are kind of born with some speed, but you can always get faster also with being in the weight room. It doesn't have to be just natural given ability. You can always make yourself faster. And just being in the weight room, like Coach Albert did an amazing job with the program he made us do when I was at Fort Hill, and just seeing like from that jump being at Fort Hill going to college, like I felt like I was probably one of the strongest freshmen coming in just because of, you know, the training that Coach Apple had us do. And like there's guys that when I first came to Maryland, they never knew how to clean. They didn't know how to squat. They didn't know how to bench. And I'm like, yo, like these are the core lifts that you should know how to do, man. So it was just like, that being in the weight room changed everything for me.
And alongside your pro day, you also had a very impressive day at the East versus West Shrine. Which do you think had the most positive impact on your draft stock more?
I mean, I'd have to go with both of them, but that East West Shrine game was definitely something that like definitely put me over the top because you meet with every NFL team there, every scout. You talk football with them, you talk protections. Like I remember meeting with the Patriots, and they were like, "Oh, talk to me about your protections." I was like, "What protection you want to know? Do you want to know a gap? Do you want to know a six man? What do you want to know?" Like I got you. What you need. And it was just crazy that being able to talk with these guys and show them that I'm knowledgeable. I just don't play football. I know the game of football. So that definitely I feel like helped me go over the top. And just like the competition, like you got guys from every conference. You have Big Ten, you have SEC, you have everything, like, and to show them that I could go against guys that were from bigger Power Fives or just winning programs meant the world to me, because it could show that I could play with anybody from any school. And it was just crazy competition, like going against linebackers every day, and just just everything, competing with other running backs that were on the East team. Like, I can't even explain it. Like, it was just wild the whole week, and they kept us up until like 12 at night, meeting with us and then waking up. I remember the first night there, I didn't go to bed till like 1 because I was meeting with like scouts. Woke up at like 6, had to go do the weigh-ins and the height, and you just walked in front of us on a stage that you were just in compression shorts in front of all these GM owners and coaches and stuff. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. And then later that day, you're at practice, competing, going at it. So that was probably definitely a thing that helped me boost my stock. I mean, granted, I went 6th round, but without that and my pro day, I probably would have went undrafted.
Okay. And talk to me about the day that you were drafted. Man, what were you doing? Who were you with? And did you have a good idea that the Lions were going to take you with that pick?
I was at Mezzo's, which is downtown. It's a bar downtown here in Cumberland. I was with my family, my close friends, like close family friends, and I had a weird feeling about it because I went on multiple top 30 visits, which is the top 30 players they're interested in. And when I went to Detroit, they told me, don't tell anybody I'm going there. And I was like, what? And then like they're like, don't post about it, don't do anything. And then I was like, all right, cool. And then like you weren't allowed to take pictures in the facility, anything. So it was just like, oh, okay, like this is weird. And then, as the time kept coming down, also I thought I was about to be a Raven because, they're like, oh yeah, like we want you here, this and that, be a hometown thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm about to be purple, black, I'm about to be everything. Like I'm about to be in the flock. That's it. And after they passed up and they got, I think, who was it, Hill, I believe, when they drafted him. I could be wrong. I don't remember. Um, it came down to the 6th round, and the Lions went at 184 and got my buddy that I was training with in Florida. I was like, oh man. And then I forget who was next, and then 186 was the Lions again. And I get a call, and I'm like, Michigan. I was like, wait, Detroit's in Michigan. I was like, hello. And it was just crazy. Like, I couldn't even speak to Bob Quinn and Coach Patricia. Like, I just couldn't even speak to them because I was just in awe that they, like, called me. I was like, yo, like, I just got drafted. Like, this is crazy. Like, you ready to work? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, you're not talking much. I was like, I can't believe it. Like, this is nuts. And just seeing my name pop up on the screen, like, a few seconds later, it was just wild.
So once your NFL career did start, who was one player that you went up against in the NFL that really made you realize that you made it?
Um, there's a lot of players, man. Like, just from being at practice with them and like joint practices with the Patriots, like you had Sony Michel, Tom Brady, you had all those guys, Edelman, all of them. And then Danny Amendola, he was with us, and I was just like, yo, like this is crazy. I was with Matt Stafford. Like, I went up because we were doing rotations, like a quarterback goes, a running back goes, you keep rotating through. And I jumped up, and CJ Anderson was like, get out the way. And I was just like, all right, because Stafford was up. And like, you got to earn your right to go with, like, you know what I'm saying? And then eventually, I waited. I did my turn, the next one, and Stafford got up again, and he threw the ball to me. And I tell you what, when I thought that was like a missile coming at my head, I caught it and I double clutched it. And he was like, you good? And I'm like, yeah, man, like this is nuts. And then I was in the huddle with him doing 2-minute drill during OTAs. And I was just like, yo, like I'm with Matt. He's right to my right now. Like this is crazy. And it was just unbelievable. And then just I met Calvin Johnson too. Like I worked a camp for him. And just like seeing him doing all these drills with these kids, like his feet were phenomenal. When I say his feet were the fastest thing I ever seen, like he was in khakis doing this. And I was like, yo, like this is nuts. So cause seeing Stafford, Danny Amendola, Calvin Johnson, those guys, I was like, yeah, I'm here. And then just like seeing Tom Brady, all them guys during joint practices, I was like, yo, this is wild. Like the next following week, Houston Texans, seeing Watt, all those guys, Deshaun Watson. I was just like, yo, I'm here, like, but now I gotta stay here. So that was like, those are definitely some guys. I was like, yeah, this is crazy.
And then in week 3 of the preseason, you caught that touchdown pass from Stafford. What was going through your mind when the ball was in the air and you knew you were going to be close to the goal line?
Man, I was like, don't drop it, don't drop it. Like that's all I said in my head. Cause the linebacker, I forget who it was. Damn, who was it? Cause I did a rail route and caught it. And they were like, "You're going in. This is the play." And I was like, "Oh, he's throwing it to me. Like, there's no other way he's throwing it to me." And then the linebacker, what was his name? Because you had Lorenzo Alexander. He was the one linebacker. I forget the other guy. And he was on me a little bit. Like, he was, like, guarding me pretty well. And then Stafford just put it in the pocket. And then I kind of caught it, like, sideways. And I just held it to my face like this. And I was like, all right, there's a pylon. Let's go. And I just dove. And I was just like, yo, like this is wild. I just caught my first pass in the game for a touchdown from Matt Stafford. And I was just like, yo, this is about to be a good one, man. I was ecstatic, man.
So at this point, you've played a full season and basically have an idea of what you're going to be seeing week in and week out in the NFL. In your opinion, what do you need to work on or add to your game to solidify yourself as an every down back rather than just being that big playback?
Um, just playing fast. That's always kind of been my thing in Maryland is like play fast from the get go. Like I'm a fast guy, so just play fast and just have that confidence. Really, my confidence was kind of dwindling a little bit like midway during the season because like I hit that rookie wall a little bit. Like I'm there. You arrived a whole week and a half early for training camp, so you got all those extra practices in. They're making me do this and that because I'm a rookie. So just keeping that confidence and playing fast really is what I need to do. Like, and like honest to God, that's really what I need to do. And once I get that, I feel like that's gonna change a lot for me, and just keep learning my playbook. I was really solid with learning the playbook because I've had four different offenses in the past 5 years. So it's just make sure I'm quick with the playbook and just go from there. Really.
Yeah, and that kind of segues me to my next question. Your 2 primary years at Fort Hill, you went 28-0. You won a total of 3 state championships. What was it like going from such a winning program to where you hardly lost any games at all? I think your only loss as a starter was against Kaiser, right?
We went 28-0 my junior and senior year, and then I believe we lost. No, we didn't even lose my sophomore year either. I think that was the one loss against Kaiser was the following year after I left.
But anyways, you come from such a winning tradition, and then you get to a school at Maryland where you didn't have much success, and then your first season in the NFL, only getting 3 wins. How did you deal with not being on the winning side after every game?
And let me tell you, it's rough, man. Like it does something to you mentally. Like when I was at Maryland, we went 3-9. So that's rough. We won the first 2 games of the season, and then we lost every single one after that, and then won the last one. And so when this past season, when we were 2-9 at the point, maybe before we won against the Giants, we were 3-9, and then when we end up losing, we went 3-10. I was just like, yo, like I was hurt a little bit because I was like, man, like this is double digits, like. I've never like experienced that, and it was kind of rough for me. Like in my head, like I was like, "Yo, like I'm tired of this. Like, what can I do to like help us win?" But there's only so much I can do because I was a rookie, and I wasn't the starter really or anything like that. And so it was just like, man, like what can I do to get going? And it's definitely rough, and it definitely you could see it kind of mess with a lot of people's heads and everything because no one wants to lose. Everyone wants to win, but every single Sunday, someone's going to lose, So it's one of those things like, what can you do, But, I have a feeling that, it's going to be different this year. I think it's going to be different. Like, I feel that in my heart and everything, but, we'll wait and see.
And obviously, this is a wild time around the world, but especially in America right now. How has coronavirus affected the way you approach for next season?
Man, I mean, it's hard because like what can you expect and like how can you approach it when no one's allowed to report back yet and just all things like that. But it definitely making sure everyone showers after practice and everything. That's for sure. Making sure everyone showers and just being clean. Like common sense, really. Cover your mouth when you're coughing, stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't take much to get rid of it and prevent it, but at the same time, like it got to be a whole thing. It can't just be me that's doing it. I feel like it goes for anyone, regardless if it's the season coming up or like people just hanging out or doing whatever. Just common sense, really.
And even when you do get back, what do you think the league is going to look like? Obviously, it's a contact sport. You're in there with other people, but even the way you interact with fans, how do you foresee that looking in the oncoming season?
Um, I'm not sure, to be honest. That's really rough. Because like you said, it's a contact sport. You're going to be around other guys. People are going to be sweating, and people are going to be doing this and that. Fans want to high five you, talk to you, be around you. So it's really rough. So I really don't even know. I'm pretty sure there's going to be like measures taken like by the league and whatnot. But I mean, to be honest, I don't even know if I can answer that because I don't even know.
Yeah. Okay. And my last question for you, it's kind of been muddled by the coronavirus going on, but the NFL did sign the new CBA agreement, which would add an extra game to the end of the season. For players like you who don't have max contracts, that's a really good thing because if you get to that point, you're going to get that extra dough. Some of the guys that are making that max contract money have voted it down. What's your opinion on the whole thing, and are you ready to go out there and play an extra game if you need to?
I love football at the end of the day, so you know, if I can play an extra game, get some stats and do something, I'm with it. And like you said, like guys like me who aren't max contract guys, like it's definitely more money, but there's guys who aren't max contracts. That's like 70% of the league, really. So there's a lot of guys like me. The majority of guys are like myself. So I'm for it. It just I know it sucks for guys like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, the big name, big contract guys. It sucks. But at the end of the day, man, like that's only a small percentage that has those really big contracts. And I mean, granted, they're going to make their money regardless, with or without an extra game. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, not even just with like contracts and stuff. There's so much, like how practices are going to be, how many times you can be in full pad. Just there's a plethora of things, like not just even with money. It's just I think it's a good thing for guys that the majority of the league, but it does suck for guys that are, high contract, big contract guys. Um, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, there's a few things that it has its flaws, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's what the players voted for. So I mean, what can you do? I mean, the league spoke, players spoke, and that's what we got.
All right, Ty. Well, thank you for hopping on with me today. Stay healthy, stay safe out there, and good luck. Hopefully, you guys get a full season in and you can show out some more for the Detroit Lions.
Thanks for having me, man. Stay safe. All right.